So this is a second quarter update. We did provide one in Q1, and it feels like it was just a few weeks ago, but in reality, it was months ago. And as this whole COVID-19 situation has moved on, the market has changed a bunch, and there's been lots of things going on. It's been really interesting just to listen in and hear what's going on at NAI Keystone. So, Steve, obviously, with all the work that he's done in the industrial market, knows what's happening. And you may find some of it surprising. You may find none of it surprising, but at the least it's real data that you can hopefully use to steer your ship a little bit. So I'll stop talking and we'll let somebody with some intelligence speak. And Mr. Willems, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chris.
Yep.
That's exactly the reason we're meeting, is to just try to stay on the same page. And with the pandemic still underway, we want to keep a tight rein on where we've been, where we are, where we're going. If we can help by providing some data, help people make smart decisions or decisions based on facts, that's a good thing. I'm going to start with just a little short overview on the Berks County market, again, just so we understand what it is that we're analyzing and tracking and looking at. Talk about the second quarter stats, and wrapping up with what we see as we move forward. The Berks County industrial market is right at 50 million square feet. This includes warehousing, manufacturing, flex space, and then of course the logistics sector. Logistics sector makes up 10 million square feet in Berks, from the 300 to 1.2 million square feet range. Most of those you see up on the interstate, and that has been our biggest growth area recently. We track 509 industrial buildings in the county. We've tracked these every quarter since 2003. So we've got a significant data set. Our rates have traditionally varied from what you see on the published schedule of CoStar. For many of you, I know just from seeing who's on, we've got some CoStar subscribers, and I'll tell you the differences. Really, there's 12 buildings that CoStar says are vacant. That is 858,000 square feet, but they're in fact full. So we know behind the scenes who's empty, who's full. We adjust our figures accordingly. There's 2 buildings, Stone Point for one and the Reading Eagle for 2, that have huge office components, about 300,000 square feet, which are counted by CoStar as industrial vacancies, but they're actually office vacancies. We make that adjustment. And then we removed a couple of buildings that are just simply not habitable, that have been out of service for some time. So we track 509 buildings, and for comparative purposes, our little market of 50 million square feet sits next to the Lehigh Valley, which is 135 million. So we're smaller, but we're mighty, and we're actually getting the attention of some folks in the valley who are looking here because of the value proposition that we can offer. Plus, we have employees. So let's jump right in, if we can, and talk about the second quarter stats. The vacancy rate, which we track, shows 2,660,750 square feet being available. That transmits into a vacancy rate of 5.3%, a drop of 0.4 of a point from the first quarter. Not a huge drop, but it's a drop, and it's a drop when we kind of thought it might be going the other way when we did the first quarter. We didn't know, some people are coming off of leases. We didn't know if they were going to be renewing, what they were doing. Businesses are in trouble, but actually the vacancy rate has gotten a little bit tighter. National vacancy rate in industrial is reported at 5.7. We're at 5.3. Not a bad number. In the logistics set, 3,043,231 square feet are vacant, down from 3.7 million that were vacant last quarter. So the market's tightened a little bit. 2.5 million square feet of space was delivered into the market in the last year. Most of that, the bulk of that was tied to the logistics set up on I-78, Hamburg, Bethel, Charlottesville, all the way across the north tier of Berks County. We have now about 3 million square feet that remains under construction. Most of that, again, is tied to the logistics set. 2,467,000 square feet of logistics space has come online in the last. I've got a slide that demonstrates vacancy rate. If you can put that up, Megan, appreciate it. And we're going to see that the vacancy rate is ever so slightly dropped for manufacturing and for warehousing. The next two slides are going to talk about rates. First one being warehouse rates as far as a high, low, and an average. Pretty much static. We haven't seen any big changes up or down in warehouse. Next would be manufacturing. And the third would be flex. We've actually seen a slight dip in the flex numbers, ever so slightly down. A couple of deals that were made almost $1 less per square foot. So that's a snapshot of the rates quickly. We haven't seen a huge difference. Couple of notable transactions. Peach Street at the end of very end of the first or the second quarter lease. That's 287,000 square feet to a manufacturing company. The name of the company is withheld due to confidentiality agreement at this time, but they'll be moving in soon. That's in Leesport. And the Exide is now marketing the 557,000 square foot complex, which is made up of 17 different buildings, I believe, in Laureldale. So that'll be sold as a brownfield site, which I think most people are familiar with. And that could work well for a manufacturer that needs heavy power. Should be an opportunity for somebody. Just don't eat the dirt. E-commerce, of course, is the biggest thing that's driving our market right now. Everybody's home, they're ordering things online and getting them delivered. We're seeing continued growth all the way across that. The growth in e-commerce has certainly put a stress test on the supply chain. A lot of operators are identifying any of even the most minor inefficiency is being changed, and they're adopting corrective strategies to meet the demand. You've got two peaks ahead. One which is on top of us almost, the back to school, then the holiday season. Of course, we don't know when back to school means, but traditionally that's been a big bump in the bubble in the supply chain. Jobs, I mentioned, are an important factor for e-commerce and other manufacturers. I have heard, we did send out a survey, and based on the respondents, plus a couple of other manufacturers that I spoke with, employees are the biggest factor. They're having trouble getting enough people to come back to work to meet their production goals. So whether it's the extra enhanced unemployment or they're doing something else, employees are very, very important right now. Since the first of the month into the third quarter, when we talk about third quarter, we're going to see that Amazon has leased 1002 Patriot Parkway near Carpenter Technology. That's a 609,000 square foot property. And I'm told there's going to be many hundreds of employees sought there for that location for a sorting and distribution center. And that is reported to fill some of the many functions that the Charlottesville warehouse that Amazon has leased will handle. So two nice leases by Amazon in our marketplace, certainly going to provide a lot of jobs for our local people. That that 609,000 is going to change our stat in the third quarter. Big number. Let's see. That's really, I try to keep it brief. I wanted to get on the call and just go over the stats. And if you want us to mail you rates, vacancies, things like that, we can email that to you, where you have data at your fingertips to use as you go about your business and make decisions. Any questions? I'll open up the floor.
Andrew, I think you logged our questions that were coming in.
Yeah, I have two for you here, Steve. The first is, you mentioned renewals were a bit uncertain in the first quarter. What are you currently seeing in that regard?
Industrial renewals, people coming off of leases, have pretty much without a doubt gone what I would say middle of the road. People are renewing. We have one instance where someone is shrinking and moving part of their business to another state, going from 150 to 88,000 square feet. But otherwise, the renewals have gone along pretty well. No one has thrown up their hands and said, we're going to consolidate in another building or do other things.
Okay. And then the other one that we have here is, would you consider that we're in a landlord or a tenant market at the moment?
I think that we were in a landlord's market where the landlord kind of carried the stick in the negotiation, could demand certain things in negotiations. I see that I wouldn't call it a tenant market, but it is very, very much in the middle. Tenants have a say. Some tenants are averse to term because they don't know what's going to come in the near term. So you're going to see some renewals that are 3 years instead of 5, or 5 instead of 7, which poses an issue for some landlords that, if the tenant is a manufacturer, which oftentimes means they're going to spend an awful lot of money to move into a building. Ordinarily, you don't want them to do that on a short-term basis. You need to commit to 7, 10, or longer term to amortize those costs out. So tenant improvement dollars are on the table. Smart tenants are negotiating. Landlords are, in most cases, trying to be fair and make deals that work for both sides. At the end of the day, it's got to work for both sides. Otherwise, it doesn't. You always like a deal where it's like a circus, everybody walks out smiling. But sometimes it's not always that way.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew.
Okay, as we've historically done here, we do archive this discussion, and it's accessible through NAIKeystone.com. So if you'd want to go back and rewatch anything, particularly some of the numbers or some of the slides, if you'd like to see that information again, it is available through the site. Steve, anything before we skip down here?
Thanks so much for being on, and I look forward to talking with, see some happy faces, familiar faces. We'll talk soon, and hopefully make it a great third quarter.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.